Do you know this guy?
No.
The fuck is he trying to get in my car for, man? The fuck is that, dude? He reached for the fucking handle. He'd get himself killed for doing something like that. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Do you know this guy?
No.
The fuck is he trying to get in my car for, man? The fuck is that, dude? He reached for the fucking handle. He'd get himself killed for doing something like that. Jesus Christ. Jesus. He tried to get in. He literally, his hand went like this for the handle. I was like...
Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome to my channel, 11 Year Rideshare. This is my weekly review video for the week of September 29th to October 6th, 2025. Every week I put out a video to kind of go over my earnings and anything exciting that happened throughout the week. First, let me say, let's hope this isn't a weekly occurrence, but as you saw in the opening video, I did have something pretty interesting happen. On Sunday night, I had a rider. It was my last ride of the week. He had asked to stop at a Circle K, that's a local convenience store. I told him, hey, go ahead and take your time. It's my last ride. I'm going home after this. Well, he was gone for quite a while. I would probably say 4 to 5 minutes. I actually was just looking through my phone, I think Facebook Marketplace. Wasn't really paying attention. I kind of started wondering, where is this guy? Well, as I was looking through Facebook Marketplace, I heard the chime from the Uber app, but it didn't register as exactly what it was. We'll get to that later. But as you saw in the video, the rider comes from the side of the building and then approaches my car. And as you see in the video, there looks to be who may just be a homeless person following him. My first thought was maybe they knew each other. The way he was walking right behind him, as you see in the video, I'm thinking, well, maybe they're acquaintances. But he had gotten in the car by himself, shut the door, and we were on our way. As I watched this individual, he circled the back of my car, came around to the driver's side of my vehicle, and actually extended his hand to try to grab the door, to open the door to get in my car. And you can see how it all played out on video. Thankfully, I was paying attention and I watched him walk around my car. I didn't expect him to reach for the door and try to get in. I didn't know what was going to happen, but thankfully I was able to move the car, and that's the reason he didn't actually open the door. Had he opened the door and got in, the video would have been more exciting, perhaps even dangerous. I'm glad it didn't happen. But let's move on. Let's go to the app, look at the numbers.
So let's have a look at the app. This week I did $721.83. I did a total of 21 hours and 30 minutes, 39 minutes to be exact. Total tips this week were $127.08. I did make $15 in additional cash on the tip side. So the tips were $142, and that brings my total up to $736. If you were to divide 736 into 21 and a half hours, that'd give you $34.23. So I hit my goal this week. I'm happy. Anything over $30 an hour I'm happy with. But it was the tips really that got me there this week. If it wasn't for the tips, I would have actually done $27.62 per hour. That I would not be very happy with. I would not have hit my goal. Here in Phoenix, during the summertime, it's a little difficult to hit the $30 an hour. Tips are not as good during the summer as they are during the winter months. I tend to be tipped a lot better through business travelers and people here on vacation or people going out and have a good time. And in the summer, we just don't get a lot of that other than the locals. And locals, in my experience, just don't tip on the same percentages as people who are traveling to town and having a good time. So those are the people I target and the areas I like to work, especially this time of year. Let's go over here and look where my stats ended up at the end of the week. I had an acceptance rate of 45%. That's usually about where it falls. Sometimes if the fares are better, it'll go a little bit higher. But this week I got a lot of $3, $5 ride requests, and I don't do very many of them. So 45 is about where it's pretty typical for me. 83 on the driving score, that's about right. I'm usually anywhere from 83 to 87. If you were to look at my driving score numbers, it's always braking. It's the only thing they ever get me on. I never speed, no cornering or acceleration or anything like that. It's just always braking. Personally, I choose to brake a little harder. I believe it's better on my brakes in the long run. And you'll see 4.99 is my star rating. Unfortunately, this week, I lost my 5.0, and I'll get into that in just a couple of minutes after we look this over. Another thing I wanted to say down here, so it says I've completed 12,869 rides. You know, the craziest thing about that is I have a screenshot from 3 months ago when I did my channel introduction video where it says I did over 13,000 rides. Shortly after making that video, it dipped. I think I lost more than 1,000 rides. Doesn't really make any sense to me. I'd like to know if that happened to anybody else. I think what I'm actually going to do is request my data set and see if I can add it up and see what my actual ride numbers are. At one point, they had actually called me a couple of years ago. I'd taken about a month off, and Uber called me, and they were just checking on me. And the person who actually called me said, "Hey, you've got such and so trips." Well, that was very different than what my app was showing. And I asked him about that. He goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll put it in. There's a discrepancy." I said, "Well, I'm looking at the app. I don't know if there's much of a discrepancy here." So I also like to know if that's ever happened to anybody else. I know when I did my ride introduction video, I had added it up to over 18,000 rides with Uber and Lyft. I'm no longer doing Lyft, so I'm just doing Uber. And if that's happened to anybody else, let me know. Great, let's move on. I'll tell you about the 5-star to 4.99 star rating.
I picked up this particular gentleman. It was a shared ride. He got in. I'd say he was probably going 25 minutes. The share ride that they added quite a bit of time to it as well. But we had a great conversation. We were talking about the nuances of using Uber, the shared ride, yada, yada, yada. But we spoke the entire time. The second person we picked up, I don't believe he spoke English. He was very quiet, but we even continued our conversation with the other gentleman in the car. Went on to the final destination. As I pulled up to the final destination, we came to the conclusion it wasn't the destination he needed to be at. Apparently, it was a destination that was in the app from earlier in the week. He tried to say that, it was the app that made the mistake and he was at no fault and it just, it shouldn't have happened the way that it did. And so I pulled over into a gas station and we tried to change his drop-off location in his app. Well, as you know, I'm not sure you can change the destination in a shared ride. I recently took an Uber myself and I looked on my app and I looked to see how do you do this because so many people struggle with it. He actually handed me his phone and we couldn't figure out how to change his destination. Well, he needed to go like another 20 minutes away. And my experience with Uber, there was a good chance I wouldn't get paid for it. And so I wasn't willing to just go ahead and do the extra 20 minutes. And the other thing is maybe he was trying to manipulate me into, getting a cheaper ride and putting in a destination, expecting that I would give him the additional 20-minute ride. Well, that wasn't going to happen. We literally sat there for 10 to 15 minutes trying to figure it out. I said the best thing at this point that we can do is I'll end the ride. You can request a ride, and if it's me, I'll go ahead and give you the ride. But what happened was, as soon as I had ended the ride, I had gotten another request. That was a good ride, and I told him I had to take it. Sure enough, he didn't give me 5 stars, and that ruined my 5-star rating. I imagine that's probably going to be like that for at least 6 months. I'm just a part-time driver. God, I hate it. It's always people where you just have no control over the situation. It's funny. I had another driver in my car maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, and he noticed I had a 5-star rating, and we got to talking. And I said, every time I get a rating other than 5 stars, I always know it's going to happen. It's never a surprise. You always see it happening, and it's always something that's completely out of your control. Let me give you 2 quick examples of the last time I lost my 5-star rating. I'd like to hear your response in the comments if this has ever happened to you. The last time I got a 1, I believe, it was a lady. She was at a restaurant that was on a very busy intersection. There's nowhere to stop. Apparently parking for this location is in a parking garage that's behind the building. Well, I can't pick up from that location. So as I was approaching the restaurant, I could tell by the blue icon that she was still in the building. And a couple of minutes before I got there, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, I said, you know what, I better give her a call because when I stop, I'm literally going to be stopping traffic. So I gave her a call and I said, ma'am, this is Jason with Uber. I'm going to be pulling up in 1 minute. Unfortunately, there's nowhere for me to stop and wait for you. And her reply was, I know, there was no reason for you to call. I should have canceled the ride. I knew to cancel the ride, but I didn't. I stopped. I held up traffic. It was only maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds, and I saw her coming out of the building. She came over, got in the car. She reported me as being rude and gave me a 1 star for that. Now, what was I supposed to do in a situation like that? Now, yes, I could have canceled it and avoided the 1 star. But I went ahead and took the ride. And took about, I'd say, anywhere from 5 to 6 months to get back to 5 stars. And in that time, if you get any other rating other than 5 stars, you're not going to get back to 5. Luckily, I did. And I held it for a few months, but it's gone now. The time before that I got a 1 star, I picked up a woman who apparently worked at a retirement home. And when she got in my car, it was immediately evident that this woman was sicker than anybody. I mean, she couldn't go 15 seconds without gagging, coughing, sneezing. The sickest person in the world, I think, had gotten into my car. In an enclosed car, 120 degrees outside, all windows up, recirculating air. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I wonder if this is what I'm going to sound like in 3 to 5 days from now. And then my entire family will sound the same next week. And so it's just kind of irritating, I was wondering, how many people back at the retirement home she got sick. And then I thought, well, maybe she had to go to work. Maybe she didn't have any contact with people that day. And after COVID, I think everybody's a little more worried when they have somebody really sick in their car. Well, we continued on her destination. It was about a 20, 25 minute ride. As we approached her exit is a little bit tricky. It's a point where the highway splits off. I was on a highway called 101. I-17 goes north. The 2 outermost right lanes are exit-only lanes, and they go on to the I-17. Well, her exit is immediately after, only maybe a half a mile, quarter mile, half a mile. So you need to be in the right lane. I live in that area. So I was in the proper lane as we approached this intersection. Maybe a half mile back, she literally goes into a panic. Oh my God, get over. And I didn't know which way she wanted me to get over. I mean, I was in the right lane and I looked back and she wanted me to get over left. And so I've actually, I just reluctantly got over in that lane. And as we start going over, I need to get back over and I barely could get back over. And I told the lady, I said, I was in the right lane. She goes, oh, I know. I was just really worried you were going to get off on the other highway. I said, no, I wasn't going to do that. I actually live here, and I'm very familiar with this area. 1 star. Yep, 1 star. It's always somebody who gets in your car, and you know it. I knew to watch for that 1 star. I knew it was going to happen. Should I have not said anything? I mean, my God, you got to stick up for yourself. It's just these annoying instances. God. Does that always happen to you? Do you always see it coming? You always see it coming, and it's usually the attitude that gets into your car. I've got a personal way I handle it. If I detect any amount of attitude before I hit start, I just cancel the ride and move on. Okay, enough for the ranting. It was a good week. I was very happy with this week. I hit my goal of $34 per hour. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is my weekly review. Next week, I'll have another review. If you would, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. Follow along, and I'll see you next week. That's all. Thank you.